On this episode of the Clip Service Podcast, Rola and I are going to break down what was a really incredible, honestly, playoffs in general, despite what happened with the Clippers, but specifically this final series between the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder won the championship. Shai Gilgeous is an NBA champion. We're going to have a lot to talk about. A lot of it does pertain to the Clippers, believe it or not, because as we all know, Shai Gilgeous is a Clipper legend. And then we're going to talk a little bit about briefly about the NBA draft, which is coming up on Wednesday. The Clippers currently have the 30th and the 51st pick. So we'll break that down a little bit. I will talk a little bit about some of my favorite prospects and ask Rolla his takes on where the Clippers should go in terms of their draft selection. So it'll be a little bit of a shorter episode, but we do have some stuff to talk about. So without further ado, let's make it happen.
What's up, Clipper Nation? And welcome to the Clip Service Podcast. Make sure to find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Amazon Music, and YouTube. And you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Clip Service Pod. I'm Rola, and this is my co-host, Nick. Let's get right into it.
Let's get right into it, guys. A lot of decompressing after this.
Oh, yeah.
After what was a roller coaster of a playoff run for both, mostly for the Pacers, but also for the Oklahoma City Thunder to get to the point where they were at, to square off in the NBA Finals. The series went to 7 games. A lot of heroics from the Indiana Pacers. I mean, and obviously from the Thunder. I think since we last talked, I can't remember if we had broken down.
We did, and we gave our predictions. You said Pacers in 6. I said Thunder in 5.
So I believe it was in Game 6 in Indiana. Mm-hmm. I believe that was the game where Jalen Williams had a 40-piece. Was that?
That was Game 5.
Okay.
Game 6 is the 40. Pacers won by 40.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So obviously, if for those of you that don't know, the Thunder won Game 5, spearheaded by
Game 6. Oh, sorry. You're right. Thunder won Game 5.
I got it. I figured it out. So yeah, Thunder won Game 5 behind a masterclass by Jalen Williams. He's been as good, if not better than, better than he has been at any point in his young career. I mean, any questions that anybody had with him in terms of being a second option, I had a lot of questions in terms of him being a championship second option, but he kind of threw all that out the window in this series, but specifically that game. I mean, he was doing everything, hitting threes, getting to the line a lot. He was playing downhill, playing both ways. So the Thunder take Game 5, and in Game 6, the Indiana Pacers completely obliterated the OKC Thunder. Everything was kind of clicking. There was that one play that was all over the internet where Haliburton steals the ball, no look pass to Pascal Siakam. Siakam throws down a dunk on Jalen Williams. It was just, I mean, most of the starters didn't play most of the fourth. It was an absolute blowout. And going into Game 7, I was pretty confident in the Indiana Pacers. Obviously, they are the underdogs in this series, but I was pretty confident just with the way that and I think I touched on it last episode, Rolla, but there was like a sort of magic with the Pacers this season, and it's just one of those things that, like, that kind of stuff goes a long way. And I really believed, especially in Haliburton and what the Pacers were doing, but that magic completely went away about 7 minutes into Game 7. Tyrese Haliburton comes out of the gates hot in Game 7, hits
Mm-hmm.
three threes, um, makes 3 of his
He
4
was
shots,
balling.
and then he was balling. Honestly, the confidence looked already early in the
Insane.
game to be
Yeah.
going
He was talking
in
shit too.
Indiana's favor. He was talking shit. I mean, you even saw it on the Thunder players, like during
Mm-hmm.
the pregame introductions. They weren't scared, but there was a sense of seriousness that we're not really used to seeing with the Thunder. And
True.
about 7 minutes in the game, Halliburton plants to drive into the paint and falls down with a non-contact injury. Most everybody seeing that injury and the reaction from Halliburton knew what had happened, and unfortunately, it was true that Halliburton tore his Achilles and missed the remainder of that game. Um, it was awful. The Pacers gave it a great shot, but it just wasn't enough without their leader role. I want to hear your off the rip, seeing that transpire, early in the game and with
Mm-hmm.
everything that was at stake. I want to just get your reactions on what happened and just like the
Yeah.
series as a whole
Yeah.
coming to an end like that.
First of all, this was one of the best finals that I've watched in a while. I mean, last
Totally.
season's finals, I didn't even watch. One, I was on vacation. Two, that I just wasn't interested in those teams. They weren't really, the Mavs are a good team, but they weren't a team that I felt attached to. The Celtics, I am not a Jason Tatum fan and just wasn't a fan of the Celtics in general. So, for me, it just wasn't as interesting. But overall, this series, I think, starting from game one, Halliburton hitting that game winner, you could kind of tell that this was one of those ones that was going to be on a different level. And, game one was unbelievable. Game two, you kind of knew that OKC wasn't going to just go away. They're one of those teams where, I had been saying it all season where they win critical games. You saw it in, what was it, game, because the Pacers went up 2-1. And, OKC knew that it would be over if the Pacers go up 3-1. And so, like game four, you saw Shai Gilgeous kind of lock down and kind of win that game for them. And then, kind of going on, obviously game six, they got completely blown out. But I think personally, like, even if the Pacers had Halliburton, I think it would have been a close game. But I think at the end of the day, I think OKC would have kind of locked in and pulled out that win. The difference between OKC and the Pacers are that I think that OKC is very gradually scrappy, as in like they're gonna have a quarter or two where they're just gonna scrap and just pull it out. And I think that's why they win so many games. Is maybe they won't be playing a perfect full game, but I think that it's the same thing as like the Warriors from a few years ago. Like they always said, like third quarter Warriors was always that that unstoppable lineup, that team that like that's where you get beat. And I think that was very much of what it was for this OKC team. And yesterday we saw it in that third quarter where they kind of just ran away with the game, where they came out and just like locked in on defense. We saw Caruso lock in on defense. We see J-Dub lock in on defense. Obviously Shai. And I just think that overall, the Thunder, they earned this win. They were the best team from top to bottom throughout the entire season. They were 1-2. I think the Cavs for a little to start the season, they were the number one team in the league, and then OKC was just the number one team from like after the first month. And it really did show this playoffs. And I mean, the Pacers went on a crazy run. They had a beautiful playoff run, but at the end of the day, the better team usually wins, and I think OKC was the better team. But But yeah, like I said, I think that this is one of those, one of those playoffs that in totality that was, you know, one that I'll remember for the rest of my life. And, I'm pretty excited to see where the NBA goes from here. Unfortunately, Haliburton got injured, so we're not going to see him next season. We're not going to see Damian Lillard, who also tore his Achilles. I mean, I actually have a list of players
Jason
that
Tatum.
have torn their Achilles this season. It was Jason Tatum, Damian
That's
Lillard,
Tatum, Dame.
DeJounte Murray tore his Achilles, Isaiah Jackson on the Pacers, James Wiseman in the first game of the season, I believe, tore his Achilles, and then Tyrese Haliburton, obviously the last person of the season. And it kind of makes you wonder. What's going on in the NBA.
Guys, we're having some technical difficulties that we're like trying to hash out as we're recording this podcast. So we'll see what this sounds like final. But yeah, sorry. Continue what you're saying, Rola.
Yeah, no, it's all good. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, tearing.
You're talking about the Achilles. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder what's going on in the NBA. Like I feel like maybe we just haven't been paying attention, but I feel like as of recent years, we've been seeing so many more Achilles and ACL tears, or maybe it's just the heightened level of media coverage of the NBA. And you have Twitter, you have Instagram, you have all these highlights, you have things going back and forth. So maybe we are more aware to those injuries happening, but it just feels like there's shit like going on.
I mean, if someone tears their Achilles, we're gonna hear about it.
Yeah, so but, I just read off like hella major players that are going to be out for the entirety of next season. Well, I don't know about James Wiseman because he tore his Achilles on the first game of the year, but I mean, a lot of these players are going to be out for the entirety of next season, and they're major players. So it kind of makes you wonder like what's going on. I mean, ever since the KD Achilles tear, everyone's kind of like been hypersensitive to that type of injury.
Yeah, so I think a lot of the discourse behind this injury is like you're seeing it happen to like a lot of younger guys, and this was an injury that normally back in the day you would see with guys like well into their careers, or just obviously wasn't as common. I think it's a multitude of things. I think that the speed at which the game is played. Obviously, it's an 82 game season, so it's a lot of basketball to be played. But I think, with how advanced players are, especially offensively, how quickly players move and how shifty players are. Austin Rivers, actually, believe it or not, he typically does have very good takes. He very thoughtful, very well spoken. But I think he made a video today or yesterday, and he was talking about why we're seeing this injury and what the league can do. And he was just saying that, obviously football players and hockey players and very, physical contact sports, it's a lot more demanding for your body in a different way. But, NBA players, there's so much pressure and so much wear and tear that goes onto like the muscles and ligaments of these players. They're moving laterally back and forth over and over and over again, and they're switching and changing directions on a dime and stopping and starting. Like, I think that just like with the way that players play and how stop and go and how breakneck, in terms of speed, the NBA is being played at right now, obviously players are going to be more prone to injury. And I don't know what the solution is for it. I would like to maybe see the NBA consider shortening the season, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure that that's ever going to happen. Rolla, it looks like there's like something covering your screen.
You're good.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, regardless, it's really tough to see, especially, like Rolla, like you said, we're going to be missing some really key players, especially out east. All of, if not most of next season. You got Tatum, you got Kyrie's going to be out with a different injury, but he's going to be out all of the next season. Haliburton, Dame, you really you said DeJounte Murray tore his Achilles. Like you have all these guys suffering like season-ending injuries that can change your entire franchise around. So whatever needs to be done, I think needs to be done. And I think the NBA really needs to try and find a way to maybe mitigate, the chances of something like this happening as frequently. But yeah, it's a tough break. And obviously going back to the series, OKC obviously deserved to be in this position. I mean, they dominated the
Yeah.
entire season. They were a top offense and top defense all season long. They bought into the culture. Everybody was playing behind Shai, who had individually one of the greatest seasons I've ever seen.
Easily.
He was absolutely incredible. And the amount of accolades that he accrued just this season is pretty insane. He was an all-star, won a finals MVP, a championship, MVP, regular season MVP.
Western Conference MVP.
Yeah, is that even a thing? Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess he won that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he was just racking up the awards, and he was really really impressive. Obviously, J-Dub contributed, and they had contributions from Caruso and Hartenstein, and obviously Dort and Case and Wallace. Like, you can go down the list. Chet, obviously, Chet was hurt for a lot of the season, and he came back strong. But so they did deserve to be at this point. But and I'm going to piggyback off of something that I saw on Bill Simmons' podcast, where this is kind of like one of the few championships, at least this is the way I see it, and he felt the same way, where the discourse is almost more the thing that's talked about the most with this final series is the team that didn't win. And when people that's the way I see it. I think that, I mean, obviously you cannot take the OKC championship away and what went into it. But at the end of the day, when you're going to talk about this 15, 20 years down the road, you will not be able to talk about this Thunder championship without this injury to Haliburton, and the fact that the Pacers went on this Cinderella story run, and there was just, like I said, there was this magic behind them, and we just didn't get this. Whether or not they would have won if Haliburton was healthy obviously remains to be seen, but the fact of the matter is we never saw it, right? We never saw from start to finish a healthy Game 7, and so that's going to be discussed every time that you discuss this championship. And again, I'm not taking away from the Thunder, but it's gut wrenching to see it go down that way. And
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
You say you disagree, Rola.
Quick. Yeah, I disagree because, I mean, when you look at the Raptors and you look at KD getting injury, same injury, right? Tore his Achilles. No one looks at Pascal Siakam and they say, oh, he won a championship because KD got injured, right? And everyone knows that. Everyone knows KD's injury is one of the biggest injuries of NBA history, right? So I mean, when you talk,
I would disagree. I would say that they had Steph, they had Draymond, they had Clay,
and
in
the same playoffs. They got injured.
Yes,
well
I agree
Game
that
7,
it was
right?
important.
So KD got injured in Game 3. Clay got injured, I think, the next game. Maybe it was game. I don't know how. I can't remember how many games that the Raptors won in. But Clay got injured, and KD. I know for a fact KD got injured because I was watching a clip today. KD got injured in Game 3. So I mean, there were a couple wins that the Raptors had where the Warriors were missing. I personally think Steph Curry was the best player on that team, but KD is no slouch of a player. Like, that's a huge player to lose.
Of course, he was their biggest weapon.
Clay, exactly, and obviously Clay was, Clay Thompson. But when how many years has it been now from that championship? And when you talk about Kawhi, when you talk about his championships, no one is. I mean, obviously haters are going to be like, "Oh, the Raptors only won because the Warriors got injured." But I mean, no one discredits Kawhi's second championship. That was the second one, right? Or third?
Yeah, that was the second.
Second? Yeah, and so no one discredits Kawhi's second championship. No one's like, oh, Kawhi really only has one championship. His second one was blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? I just think that It's still fresh. I mean, the game happened yesterday, so people are obviously going to be like, "Oh, OKC won only because this, that, and the third." But
see, that's not what I'm
from what
saying.
from what I've been seeing is, I think that when people are looking at these playoffs, and looking at OKC as a champion, or currently, I think people are seeing like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, MVP, Finals MVP. What a year! They look at OKC Thunder like best team in the entire league the entire year. I mean, I'm not discrediting the Pacers at all. And I'm not discrediting Hali. Like, the dude played out of his mind, especially after being voted the most overrated player in the NBA. I think he proved literally every single person that doubted him. I doubted him for years, and I got completely proven wrong. I didn't know he was this good, and I mean, we all saw it. He was gonna go off last game, and it's unfortunate that he got injured, and it's unfortunate that we didn't get to see, probably gonna be a game for the ages. But I personally think at the end of the day, I think OKC would have still won, even though Haliburton was going off. I mean, honestly, the entire Pacers team was kind of going off, and OKC was still within range, probably like 3 or 4 or 5 points down. I mean, we saw Haliburton hit like 3 threes within the first couple minutes of the game. And I mean, no one wants to talk about it, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was right there with him. I think he had like 5 or 6 points at that point also. Like, he wasn't just chilling. You know what I mean? I just think that there's a lot, especially because it's like we're talking about this the day after. I think that we're a little bit more emotional. But I think when it comes down to it, when we look back at this, we're going to be like, you know what? OKC was the better team. They were the better team all season.
Oh,
and
for sure.
This championship wasn't a fluke. It wasn't like, oh, like they got lucky. They just, they just so happened to be in the playoffs. Like, no, they were supposed to be there. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. And that's not what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying that, like, I'll joke and say that, like, this is a fraudulent championship or whatever, but that's not the case. OKC deserved to be here. They were always the favorites to win it. It would have been their championship to lose, right? But what I'm saying is that, and it's different from the KD situation in that this would have been, in my opinion, if the Pacers pulled this off, this would have been the most unexpected championship in the history of the game. In my opinion, easily. The only thing that comes close is
the Mavs.
I mean, at least in the modern era, yes, the Mavericks, but I mean, Dirk was playing out of his mind. I mean, it was.
No, I meant Mavs last year.
Oh, yeah, but what I'm saying is like teams that actually won. The only thing that comes close to me besides Dirk's Mavericks in 2011, because that was an absolute gauntlet. Yeah. Also Rick Carlisle's team, but would have been the 2016 comeback from the Cavs. But the difference with that is the Cavs dominated the entire playoffs up until the finals, right? They dominated the East. So this would have been, I mean, Haliburton hit a game winner in every single series. And it was just like that to me is why the discussion is going to be had about, I'm not saying even an asterisk, but what I'm saying is like, this championship is going to be both a testament to OKC's dominance and also the biggest what if, because it would have been unfathomable. I mean, like I personally, like, I had a lot of belief in the Pacers. Like I said, I had them winning this series in 6. But I mean, to really just at the end of the day, the Pacers winning this series after all said and done is pretty unfathomable. And so that will always, to me, be a discussion. But again, that doesn't take away from OKC. And maybe, it was just a brutal way for the Pacers' magic, like their magic ran out, right? Like that. And it sucks that it came at the cost of Haliburton missing out on not only this chance, but, next season as well. Who knows what he's going to look like when he comes back? I don't know if Haliburton will ever get to this point again. So it's just like, it's such a big what if, and it's just heartbreaking. I think you can both be happy for the Thunder and you can be incredibly sad for
Oh
the
yeah,
Pacers.
I
Just
agree.
because I couldn't believe it when it had happened. Seeing him right when he fell to the ground and he immediately started crying, and you could just
Hmm.
see it on his face. He knew exactly what was going on. And then also just the fact that after he had left, it took a couple minutes, but the Pacers, that's how magical of a run this was. You kind of felt like the Pacers were going to make it. I mean, they went into the halftime with a 1 point
Up
lead.
one. Yeah.
And Haliburton went down 7 minutes into the first. So they like
Hmm.
maintained a lead up until halftime. And, it was the TJ McConnell show yet again for
Yeah.
about 5 minutes. And then the
Hmm.
Benedict Mathurin show. I mean, Benedict Mathurin grew up significantly in a quarter in this
Hmm.
series or in this, in this series. And, that's just a testament to how special that this Pacers run too was as well. Just like, are the Pacers actually going to do this without Halliburton? Like,
Hmm.
obviously, it would have been a big ask, but at the end of the day, and I'll use this to segue into my next question for you, Rola. But at the end of the
Wait,
day,
sorry, I have a question for you also. But go, yeah, yeah. Sorry.
what I was going to say is, at the end of the day, the Oklahoma City Thunder won their first championship. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander completes just a, a absolutely dominant Goliath effort of a season, and I couldn't be happier for the
Hmm.
Thunder, but for him especially.
Yeah.
And he's a special talent. What were you going to ask me, and then I'll segue
Oh,
into what we.
I have two things.
Okay,
Um, First thing, just really quick
sure.
answers. First thing, earlier today, I saw a clip from Richard Jefferson discussing Halliburton choosing to play with his calf strain.
Yeah,
And I saw another clip where Kendrick Perkins was saying Halliburton should have sat out. It's not worth getting injured.
sat out game
He was like,
7 or game 6.
shout out both 7, 6, and 7, saying that you know, like these injuries can end your career. This, that, and the third. He said that he told KD the same thing when KD had his calf strain. And Richard Jefferson said, "I don't like." They asked Richard Jefferson, "Would you have played if you were in Tyrese Haliburton's shoes?" And Richard Jefferson was like, "Absolutely." He's like, "One, people don't understand that getting to these finals in like a game 7 is every basketball player's dream.
Yeah, you think
Like
about it when you're
they
4 years old.
exactly
You
like
know,
they
like
grow up. This is their entire life's work." He's like, imagine like you work your entire life towards something, and then you finally get to the end of that, and you have a chance to like play and do and like be a part of it, and like you choose not to. Like, of course you're gonna risk everything. He's like, if they told me that I had to cut off a fucking finger, I'd cut off a finger. And so like, I wanted to ask you, like, do you feel like players like at this point in their like let's say they get to a finals game, and medical staff is saying, there's a pretty high chance you tear your ACL, you tear your Achilles, this, like, you get a major injury. Do you think it's worth to like take that risk, like considering Halliburton might never be the same player? He might, you know what I mean, like he might never
yeah,
be as quick, he might never be as laterally shifty, his shot might be different. It's going to take him a year plus to even get close to what he was yesterday.
yeah.
Do you feel like that's worth it?
I mean, if I was in that position, yes, I would say that it would be worth it. And I think that it's a great question, because I think there's a lot that goes into it. I
Right.
mean, this shifts down to now the Indiana Pacers as an organization, right? They have to plan for a season without Tyrese Haliburton. Players might get
Mm-hmm.
traded because of this injury, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes into it, and I think that it boils down to the player's decision, and maybe even ask the teammates, like, what do you think? Like, make it a team decision. But I absolutely think it's worth it. I mean, like you said, it's the entire encapsulation of a young. I mean, it's an early life. These
Mm-hmm.
players are 20 in their 20s, but it's an encapsulation of their work and the effort that they put into this, and getting to that point of living out your dream. And you might only have one shot to do it.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's a good chance, or there is a chance, that Tyrese Haliburton never makes it to a finals again. I hope not, but it's always a chance. And so, like,
Yeah.
you have to be able to say that you did it and you tried and you gave it your all. Unfortunate though.
Yeah, I agree. Um, yeah, I think that's just one of those things where you just gotta. I mean, like when he fell on the ground, you could hear him saying like, "No, no, no." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that was obviously like his worst nightmare. But at the end of the day, he knew that that was a risk he was taking. Like, of course, it was sad. Of course, we didn't want to see that happen. But like, I think he'll be glad that he gave it a shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if he hadn't played Game 6, maybe they lose and they lose the series, right? So
And
I
it's all
think
what
that
ifs.
exactly.
You know,
So I think it was worth it. I think that it's one of those things where he'll be glad in 15, 20 years, even if he doesn't win a championship, he'll be like, you know what? Like, I tried. You know what I mean? They didn't like
yeah.
the basketball gods didn't want it for me, but like at least I put everything on the line to try to get it, and it is what it is. Rather than thinking about like what if I had played, this could have happened, we could have won this. You know what I mean? Okay, so my second question is, dude, I think there's got to be an investigation into that Pascal Siakam possession shit, bro, from from before Game 6, bro. I'm kind of shocked that like nothing happened because that was kind of crazy. I don't know
Okay, well, what do you
the
mean an
viewers
investigation?
if the viewers haven't seen the clip, there was a moment before Game 6 where in the Pacers huddle, Pascal Siakam gets possessed by I don't know what it was, some sort
He
of
was just
spirit.
rolling his eyes back.
I don't know
Who
who's
knows?
rolling his. Also, why are you rolling your eyes back? That's kind of a crazy thing to do.
Maybe he was pretending to like
I don't know.
be.
I think there's got to be some sort of NBA investigation because it's a little bit suspicious. Human beings don't do that.
What do you
It's not a
think he
regular
was
thing someone
doing?
does. I don't know, bro.
You think they were
looks sketch.
sacrificing a chicken or something,
I don't
like in
know,
the middle
bro,
of the
but
huddle?
I think
Like,
he should have. I think he should have been drug tested at the very minimum. Maybe he
oh
was, and we'll
man,
find out.
I don't
But that
think
was
that
kind of
that's the
crazy.
case.
That was kind of a
Um,
crazy moment.
it was wild to see, and it was like almost not talked about enough. It was more
Not
so just
at
like it became a
all,
meme.
bro.
But because I was like curious, like I would like to. I don't think it needs to be investigated. I would like to
That's
just
just
know.
sketch, bro.
I would like to know like what was going on there.
What
Like
happened?
was he just feeling really
And no
good?
one
Like
asked him.
I
I'm
wonder
sure
if
they'll
maybe
ask him at some
what if
point
he
in like
was
an interview
like
or some shit.
maybe he was praying or something or like
I don't know, dude. That doesn't look
I
like a
don't
prayer,
know.
dude.
I don't think that calls for investigation. It was odd to see, and the memes going around the league with
The
that have
Undertaker.
been so funny. There's been shit that don't even want to say in this pod, but like it's been wild. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that there's a lot of ways that you can take that. I think that it was probably just Pascal feeling himself,
No, it was
like
kind of sketch,
not
dude.
literally, like,
It was a
but
little sketch.
yeah, I don't know. I thought it was funny.
I feel. That's
But
it.
yeah,
That's all the
that's
questions I
pretty much
had.
all I got to say about that.
That's
Um,
that's all I had.
but going back really quickly, and I'm gonna use this to segue to the next discussion
Hmm.
real quick. Going back to what ifs, and like there's so much that goes into winning a championship and getting to the point to be able to win a championship. I mean, it's not just one singular thing, right? There's so many
Hmm.
different things. And it's like a butterfly effect. If
Definitely.
LeBron is half a second slower in 2016, then he doesn't get the chase down block on Iguodala because he was literally a fingernail away from it being in a goaltend. It's like the margins are that thin.
Hmm.
And so if we're talking about what ifs and alternate scenarios and stuff like that, do you think that my question to you would be, do you think that if the Clippers didn't trade for Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and let's say that it was just Kawhi that came, they kept Shea, they kept for the most part the core that they had, maybe they trade away Gallo and Trez for DeMar DeRozan or something like that. The team is not what it was, but we keep Shea. Do you think that at this point in time, do you think that the Clippers would be? Do you think A, the Clippers would be champions, and B, do you think Shea Gilgeous would be the player that he is now? Um,
Um, My answer, short answer, is absolutely not. My long answer is, you were talking about the butterfly effect.
Sure.
He gets traded. He now has that motivation to prove us wrong, right? That might have set him on a completely different level of drive that he wouldn't have had he been on the Clippers. Two, he got to be, eventually a leader of a team, whereas on the Clippers with Kawhi, he would have never truly been that. And I think that growth, allowing him to be that guy, also developed his skills, developed him as a person, developed his game. And then thirdly, I think him playing with Chris Paul in that 1 year. Okay, I think they either lost in the play-in or they lost.
I think they got
first round
eliminated
or
in the
something?
first round. I think.
That year, I think completely transformed Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as a player, as a human being, as a basketball mind.
I think it
And
helped. I think Chris
I,
gets a little too much credit for that, but I think it helped.
I mean, well, that team went from being like literally the worst team in the league to like going to the
To
playoffs.
less worse.
And no, but I think that Chris Paul
They were still
showing him,
ass for 2 years after that.
right, but I think showing Shea what a Hall of Fame level point guard looks like, trains like, wakes up
Sure.
and studies film like, and you know what I mean, like goes about life outside of the court.
Yeah.
And even like in the court, or even in like little situations where, maybe he pivots a certain way and Chris Paul is like, yo, I think you should pivot this way rather. And that is something that could have developed his post game
Sure.
even further. You know what I mean? I think having someone like that, and I think I talked about this in a previous podcast, but Chris Paul would always talk about how like Shea would like just come to his house and grab dinner or do things, and he would just be talking about basketball. He just want to know like what Chris Paul knows, and I think that having someone like that, someone that is on that level. I mean, Chris Paul is going to be, he's going to retire as one of the probably the top 5 point guards of all time. Having someone like that and being able to grab dinner and like within an arm's reach, I think was so huge for Shea, and I really think that without those things happening, I don't think he would be the player he is today. Literally top 2, 3 in the league currently. I just don't think he would have gotten that on the Clippers. And, I am pretty proud to say that he, played on the Clippers, was drafted by the Clippers, but, it is what it is. And, I'm glad at the end of the day, he was able to win a championship.
Yeah, I mean that's a great take, and I think that they're like I'm going to reiterate what I said. I do think that his time with Chris Paul gets a little bit blown out of proportion at times, but I do agree with you in that I think the reason why just spending a year with Chris Paul worked so well for Shea is because Shea was willing to learn, and he's a different
Yeah.
he wants to know the nuances of what it means to be a player that's at the level of Chris Paul, or at least carries themselves that way. And that's a testament to both the greatness of Shea and the greatness of CP. But yeah, I think also it's the fact that he had 3 years to really work on his game without any pressure. He got to grow with players around his age. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he got to build, like him, Jalen Williams, Chet, like all of these guys were drafted at the same team, but like basically grew up together, or for at least the 2 years got to grow together and stuff. And so, when people bring up the Clippers trade and stuff like that, obviously looking back, nobody would ever do it. But at the time it happened, and I think that the thing that's most important, and the thing that's like most important too in like giving the Thunder their props and giving them their flowers, is the fact that like, yes, getting Shea was the single most important recipe for their success, but Sam Presti did a masterful job. Sam Presti in the front office did a masterful job top to bottom. I mean, you look, the one of the picks that we traded to the Thunder was used to draft Jalen Williams. They could have drafted David Roddy. They could have drafted Ochai Agbaji. They could have drafted all kinds of like random people, but instead they saw that he had a vision. He drafted Jalen Williams, and this is a dude that dropped 40 in a final series 3 years into the league. And then they go and they trade Josh Giddey, who is a good player, but it wasn't working. Trade him for Alex Caruso, who I'm willing to say that if they didn't have Alex Caruso this year, they probably wouldn't have won the championship.
Yeah.
They signed Isaiah Hartenstein, who was huge for them and allowed Chet to play, power forward at times. And I'm sure that Hartenstein has helped Chet's development. Like Dort's rise to being a solid role player and the dirtiest player in the league, but that's neither here nor there. Keeping guys like signing guys like Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins and like all of these guys, even Jalen Williams is a great the other Jalen Williams is a great locker room guy. Like there's so much that goes into this formula, and they still have first round picks to come, right? They have I think they have a lottery pick or just outside of the lottery this year. Like it wasn't just getting Shai. I think that you can dunk on the Clippers all you want for the Shai trade, but at the end of the day, this is a testament to how well this was thought out. This team and this franchise, and like every bit.
Got to take notes, dude.
Yeah, I mean every bit. I mean, and granted, like there's a lot of teams that kind of do the I'm gonna hoard picks thing, and it doesn't work out. And that takes me to my next point. It's like there's so much luck, truly, that goes into winning a championship, and things have to fall into place. And you look at, on the absolutely opposite side of things with Haliburton, like bad luck can ruin your chances completely, and, I just think that the revisionist history and looking back and saying what if and stuff like that, it only gets you so far, because things can happen in any iteration, in any which way. And at the end of the day, the luck was on OKC's side, and also the preparation and the foundation of their team. But I just think that I'm completely. I've officially closed the book on the Shai trade. I am no longer thinking about that. It is what it is. It was what it was, and I don't think it's the single reason why the Thunder are in this position. It certainly helped, but that's my 2 cents on it.
Good 2 cents. I mean, I have nothing to say. I mean, I'm just happy. I'm happy for Shai.
Yeah.
Especially like I said, the motivation of being traded, because the Clippers thought that they could win a championship with Paul George, and we all know how that turned out.
It was horrible, and there was a lot of bad luck for the Clippers too. Since the trade,
I just think that a lot of Clippers fans, like, you can only look back at Shai's time with the Clippers and with like fondness. He was just a great player for the 1 year he was on the Clippers. And I'm just happy. I was always happy to watch him and happy to see him grow and become this player and ultimately win a championship. It's, of course I would have wished that this arc of his was on the Clippers, but it just feels like almost like watching like your child grow into a doctor or some shit,
Yeah, no, it's sad because he's not with the Clippers, but I'm happy for him, bottom line, and I'm happy for the Thunder. So I mean, it was a hell of just honestly, the Clippers obviously didn't go, their season didn't go the way that we wanted it to, but I mean, it was a special season for the Clippers too. It was just a special season front to back. Now that I can kind of look back and see, the season from front to back, this playoff run for most of the teams involved, like there was a lot of really cool things this season, and it was, it was heartbreaking at times, but I had a lot of fun. And so now we look to the NBA draft, which is in 2 days on Wednesday at I think 5 p.m. Pacific time. As long as the Clippers don't make any trades, they will currently have the 30th pick and the 51st pick in that draft. And so real quick, I didn't want to take too much time to do this, but I like doing a lot of draft research. I watch a good amount of the NCAA tournament, but There are a couple players that if they do fall to the 30th pick, I'll talk about the first round pick first. But there are a couple players that if they fall to the 30th pick that I would really enjoy seeing play for the Clippers. The first of which being Rasheer Fleming out of St. Joe's, 6'9", kind of like small forward, power forward. He great shooter for his size, pretty good mobility. He finishes well at the rim, and I think that kind of brings me to my point of I think that as far as like archetypes that I want the Clippers to try and look for, I would like to see the Clippers try and see if they can get a guy that can eventually slot into some like power forward depth or at least, help out in that regard. And I think someone like this would be great. I think that another good option is the Noah Penda, who's currently playing in the French or was playing in the French league last year. From everything that I've seen and everything that I've heard, a lot of people would compare him to like a Nico Batum style player, not just because he's French.
Ooh,
He's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. He can shoot a bit. Although he's not like super aggressive in scoring, can do a little bit of everything. I like those two a lot. Rasheer Fleming is kind of projected and mocked to go between like 19 and 30-ish. So I don't think that he falls to the Clippers in this situation, but if he does, this is one guy that I swear the Clippers need to hop on. You heard it here first. If Rasheer Fleming is available at 30th pick, the Clippers need to make that pick. But I like him. I like Noah Penda. I like Drake Powell out of North Carolina, freshman. He's more of like a wing, 6'6", 195. A little bit raw offensively, great defender, but there's a lot of two-way potential there. Those are like some of the guys that I really like. Anything can happen. You see players slide a little bit further than they're projected, and you see players get taken a lot earlier than they're projected. But as far as right now, those are probably like my top three. And then as far as the second round, there are a lot of guys that have been talked about, and there's a lot of guys that have been worked out with the Clippers. A lot of them I honestly don't really know, and that's kind of like I really quickly wanted to touch on. For whatever reason, the Clippers front office likes to go with these like not random, because I don't want to discredit players, but like you look at oh my God, dude, what the oh, Jerome Robinson. I tried to block him out of my mind. You look at Jerome Robinson. The Clippers had a lottery pick, and I don't think anybody would have assumed that Jerome Robinson would have been a lottery pick that year. But for whatever reason, like the front office likes to go with these like diamond in the rough players when maybe there's a more clear cut favorite or a more clear cut talent. And so please just make the clear choice. I think that out of the guys that are available, that will probably be available in the second round at that pick, 51st, the one guy that did work out for the Clippers that I would love to see in a Clippers jersey, I've been watching him for years at Yale, is John Poulikitis, senior out of Yale. He's about 6'6". Dude can shoot lights out. I think last year he averaged, he's been shooting about 40% from three every year that he's been at Yale. Was averaging 19 points last year, 13 points the year prior, and 12 the year prior. So, almost 20 points a game last year. The dude can shoot, and he seems like a really mature dude. He was on, I think it was the No Ceilings podcast about a week ago, and I love the way that he approaches the game. He talks about the game very analytic, like he's very focused and driven. He's projected to be around the end to the middle of the second round. If he's available, I really, really, really hope that the Clippers consider him. And hopefully his pre-draft workout went well, because I would love to see that guy in a Clippers jersey. He is my biggest sleeper in this entire draft class. But I would love to see John Poulikitis in a Clipper jersey. So Rola, when we're done with this podcast, I want you to go look up John Poulikitis highlights, because he's got mad potential. And
take a look.
So yeah, those are I didn't want to go too much. I could talk about this shit for hours, but as far as like my favorite prospects, those are my favorites. Obviously, there's ones that if they really do fall late in the first round, like Danny Wolf out of Michigan, or something like Ben Suraf. who I think is playing in Israel or something like that. Those are guys that I would love to take, but they'll probably won't fall to the 30th pick. So as far as what's practical and what's maybe going to happen, those are my favorites. So Clipper Nation, if you guys have any prospects that you like, or you have any favorite prospects that you hope that the Clippers take, let us know down below in the comment section. I love this time of the year. What's that?
I said I know who the Clippers should take.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so for those of you guys that don't know, there is one player that Rola loves probably more than anybody that plays in college basketball year after year, Caleb Love, who played for UNC and then went to, I believe he played at Arizona last year.
Yep.
Rola would love nothing more than for Caleb Love to be a Clipper. And hey, if he's around the 51st pick, I wouldn't hate Caleb Love. I really like Caleb Love too. I think he's got mad potential. He's like in my opinion, like a poor man's Walter Clayton. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of prospects out there. I'm sure the Clippers.
I think he could be kind of like Aaron Naismith, that type of player, where he can lock in on defense and hit. And
he's more of a scorer than Aaron Naismith.
Yeah, well, I mean, Aaron Naismith went off like from 3. I think he can catch fire at any point in time, and he can lock in on defense. And if they, need to call on him, he's there. I also think that the Clippers in general. This is just my take on drafts going forward for teams that are in that rebuild mode. I think when you look at the last couple, finals teams, this year, Pacers, OKC, their Pacers 3 best players, or I guess outside of Siakam, were Naismith, Andrew Nembhard, obviously Tyrese Haliburton. You look at OKC, you got SGA, you got J-Dub. I mean, you look 2 years ago, Mavs got, Luka, Kyrie, and then obviously Celtics are very guard heavy. I think to rebuild a team, I think you do have to start with a guard heavy lineup, as in like you got to have solid guards that are able to hit shots, able to hit, catch and shoot type shots, and able to play defense. I think you need a 3-and-D type of solid guard that you can play at small forward, shooting guard or point guard. I think that personally you do need a superstar point guard in today's NBA. And if not a point guard, then a ball handling type small forward or shooting guard. And I think that for the Clippers to be eventual champions, I think that we are going to need a star like that. And, unless you have, Jokic, obviously, is a once-in-a-lifetime player, or a Giannis Antetokounmpo, also a once-in-a-lifetime player. Outside of those guys, I don't really think that there are any other like non-guard players that are capable of winning a chip in today's NBA, personally.
So you think that the Clippers need to draft the next Steph Curry, is what you're saying?
Yeah, which is
with the 30th pick, with the 30th pick in the draft.
I believe is going to be Caleb Love, and I think he's going to be right there. I personally think that he's going to be that guy in a couple years. And unfortunately, I think that a lot of the teams are going to be bummed or saddened that they don't pick him up.
Well, he might go undrafted, so the Clippers can do what they did with Amir Coffey and sign him to a two-way, after the draft. But I'm really excited for this time of the always for this time of the year. I really wish the Clippers had a higher pick, but unfortunately, it is a pick swap with the Oklahoma City Thunder, who were the best team in the league. So we are stuck with 30th, but it's a very deep draft class. There is a ton of talent at 30, and still going to be a pretty good amount of talent, like middle of the second round and stuff like that too. I mean, you look at Jokic. Jokic was like the 50-something pick, or late 40. So you can find some gold in the second round. So I'm very excited to see who the Clippers end up taking. I really hope it's not some out of the box like Daniel Oturu or Diamond Stone or David Michino or Bryce Johnson or CJ Wilcox or like all these players that like just didn't work out for the Clippers. I would like the Clippers to just make the easiest and clearest decision possible in terms of talent available. So we'll see what happens, guys. We'll probably come at you in the next week or so, once the drafts happened, give our take on the Clippers draft selection. And with Kevin Durant going to, we didn't talk about it, but with Kevin Durant going to the Rockets, that's kind of the first domino to fall in terms of free agency and trades and stuff like that. So by the time that we talk next, who knows what'll happen. So hopefully we got some stuff to report, some good news on draft day. But until next time, guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll probably end up doing, I know we say it, we've said it the last couple episodes, but we'll probably, now that the offseason has officially started and we can start talking more about the Clippers and stuff like that, we'll probably do some sort of giveaway here coming up. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, thank you guys so much. As Rola said up top, you can watch us on YouTube, listen to us on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Deezer. Please give us a follow on Twitter and on Instagram at Clip Service Pods. That's where we let you guys know about the giveaways and stuff like that. So make sure you hit that follow button, comment, like, subscribe, give us a rating, give us a 5-star rating or 5-star rating. We really appreciate the support, guys. So until next time, and actually, no, as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander said, once said, yeah, let's go Clips.
Let's go Clips.
Salute.